I think to be a musician, you have to be not right in the head.
The Musicians Union wrote an article about the musicians being the most affected community when it comes to mental health in comparison to the general population.
I have anxiety, so everything scares me.
Turns out I also have bipolar, but I didn't know that at the time.
What would you say are some of the unique experiences to artists when it comes to mental health?
Like bedroom studios, there was one point where I was like, okay, this is actually not safe.
I was 14, 15, 16 in some studios, and like older men would like come on to me. If you actually listen to my music, a lot of it is about my depression, my anxiety, heartbreak, really sad stuff.
Bipolar pop did not exist before me, and it will not exist after me.
Wow.
Do you think there's enough support in the music industry when it comes to mental health?
I can't afford it. I've been on a waiting list for therapy for 2 years.
I don't take drugs, and I never have done, because I know if I did, I would become a drug addict and die. If you want an amazing next generation of musicians to come through, then you need to support them.
Why do we never talk about music and mental health, especially when some of the world's biggest artists like Ray, Stormzy, Justin Bieber and even Ariana Grande all open up about it in their music? Well, today I'm going to get into it. I'm sat with a couple of my friends, Lleo and Madi, who also happen to be artists, and they're also very open about their mental health. How are you both?
Good. I'm good.
Lleo?
I'm all right.
All right.
I don't know. This is really depressing. And
Head check.
I mean, I've had a bit of a time.
Okay.
But I'm okay. I'm getting through it. I'm just keeping my head down, getting on with it.
Would you say like on the line, are you like up, down, recovering, or just flat?
I'm... This is such a depressing start. I want to say, hey guys, I'm great. But actually, I feel like I'm like a 5 out of 10.
Let's normalize saying we're 5 out of 10. Do you know what I mean?
You know? But I'm okay. I'll get through it. I'll be a 10 again.
You will. Yeah. And we're here to chat. Let's do up a therapy session today. Maddie?
Yeah, because my answer was terrible. I feel like I've also been like up and down, but like more so on like a physical health aspect. I feel like a lot of myself recently mentally, I've been doing okay, but there was a point where I was like, like I'm very, very open on my Instagram and stuff. Like there was a time where I was just like, I'm trying to get out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get off this planet, you know? But I'm in a different place now, but it's like all of that like mental, I guess, hardship that I was going through like manifested itself in my body. So
and I
my
feel like
body's
stuff like that has
Mm-hmm.
allowed you to be here today so we can have this chat, right?
100%.
So as you both know, I love music, but I cannot sing, I cannot dance. All I can do is yappa, yappa, yappa.
I feel like you're lying to us, but okay.
Hello from the other side. There we go, I can't sing. Do you know what I mean?
Please, people
But
in
yeah.
the comments tell me that a 1 a note and a half. Okay.
This is when you know you got bad friends because they're just lying to you. But my point was, because I cannot sing, cannot dance, I just yap away. And one thing that I've noticed is like, I was actually reading an article, the Musicians Union wrote an article about the musicians being the most affected community when it comes to mental health in comparison to the general population. And I'm someone who likes to listen to sad music and be in my feels. And I feel everyone chucks around the words mental health, but we don't get into it. So what I want to know from you two is, as artists, do you get what the Musicians Union are saying about artists being the most affected when it comes to mental health?
100%. Honestly, like, even regardless of the music industry and how messed up it is, like, even, how do I say, like, I feel like there's something in musicians where they have this thing inside them that needs to come out. And for some people, that might be spending time with their friends. It might be like, I don't know, having a nice time. But I feel like musicians, they channel it and they turn it up to like 100% and then they get it out. And there's something that actually, like, in a way it's healing, but also like, I don't know. I think to be a musician, you have to be not right in the head. Like, genuinely.
Respectfully.
I genuinely believe that. Like, so many of my mates in music, there's such a difference between like the people I went to school with who do like normal jobs and have normal lives, and then my mates who are doing music. There's such a massive disparity, and like, I don't know. I just think, yeah, musicians aren't right in the head.
And I guess it's one of those as well, where if you didn't have those experiences, you would have nothing to write about.
100%.
What about you, Maddie? Can you see where the musicians' unions are coming from?
100%. I think, just to touch on Leo's point, I think the difference that I see with like the regular 9-to-5 workers and like your creative industries is just stability. Like that financial income that's coming in, it may not be large because let's be real, this country is broke. But like the financial stability, like my friends can go on holidays all the time, and it's like I'm stuck in Birmingham all the time because it's like I have to shell out all my money that I make from being a freelancer to put into my music, and it's just like, oh, I can't pay my bills, which is stressing me out. And then it's like people also use your art for their healing, but then it's like when you've made the art for the healing, it's like you don't want to have to listen to your sad song, do you know what I mean, to heal yourself.
We're going to get into that in a bit, but what I want to know is, as artists, what are some things that people watching this who might not be part of the music industry know that are unique to you that might be affecting your mental health differently?
One of those things that we don't talk about enough in music is addiction, and how, like, so when I was starting out playing shows, they like the promoter would say, oh, there's no money, but here's a load of beer. And I was like, I didn't drink till I was 21, like at all. And I remember being like, this is really weird because this is my job. And I can't imagine going into an office and them saying, oh, we're not going to pay you, but here are a load of cocktails. Like, that's weird.
Crazy.
Like, that's really, really weird.
I didn't even think about that because, yeah, then naturally when you go to work, you'll associate that with drinking.
100%. And that's why, like, there are so many people who have got such bad problems. I think especially in dance music, like my mates in dance music, drugs are like a massive thing. It's just like normal. It's normal.
And do you reckon that's something that has affected you, or like did you have a moment where you had to kind of take a step back and be like, what am I doing?
I don't take drugs, and I never have done, because I know if I did, I would become a drug addict and die. I just know I would. So I don't take drugs. I do drink. And yeah, there have definitely been periods where I've had to step away from alcohol because I've been like, this is not right, and it's not making me happy, and it's just like it spirals really quickly, I think. And yeah, I think for me, like, that's why I have like such a hard boundary. I will not drink if I'm playing a show. No way. Like, for me, it's work, it's my career. Why would I do something to jeopardize something that I want to be my whole life, you know? But I know loads of people who yeah, they do get, like, I can't swear.
You do get mashed up.
I know loads of people who get on it before shows and during shows and after shows. And for me, that's like, I don't know. I think it's a very slippery slope, but it's something that's completely normal.
That's interesting. So honestly, I've never thought of it like that.
I've never thought about
because,
it at all.
Yeah, because like I've been to festivals with like my friends, or like my friends who are artists. And yeah, like there's riders and stuff. Like you hear celebrities asking for their riders, but yeah, I've just never put two together.
Yeah.
Maddie, what about you? What would you say are some of the unique experiences to artists when it comes to mental health?
I think for me, from my own personal like thing, I guess growing up, I started doing music when I was 14, so I was very young.
You started drinking when you were 14?
No, I started doing music when I was...
Okay, my bad.
Let me just clarify. I was not...
I was 14.
Please. But like, I started doing music when I was really young, so I guess the barriers for me and like the things that make it really hard is like I have anxiety, so everything scares me. Like even traveling here today, I was like, oh my gosh, everyone is terrified.
And just to let you know, Maddie is a fellow Brummie. And Lleo's from Cheltenham, but she lives in London.
Outside of London. But no, I think for me, growing up, you're young and you're an impressionable person. So you walk into, I think I was speaking to Lleo about it just before we started like doing it. But it's like, we was like, if we spoke to our younger selves, we would be like, I'm so sorry, because this journey that you put yourself on is nothing that you expect it to be. And some of the things that I've experienced through like going to studio sessions, for example, and recording with men that are older, and then they're like putting themselves onto me or like touching me up or saying inappropriate things.
Sorry.
The Fly! We're having a moment, Fly, okay?
Go away.
Are we gone? Yeah?
Yeah.
So when I was younger, when I would go to studio sessions, a lot of the people that would own the studios would be older gentlemen, and it's like sometimes, I guess because of maybe the culture of like the fun and the partying and stuff, there isn't like, I don't know, there's not a lot of people taking responsibility for their actions. So like I was 14, 15, 16 in some studios, and like older men would like come on to me or they would try and touch me, and I'm just like, that's not appropriate. And I also feel like when you're an independent artist, there's a lot of bedroom studio situations, there's a lot of uncomfortable vibes, and like people suggesting one thing about the scenario when you're just there to make music. So then it kind of like any studio you go into, or I go into now, it's like, now I have to like gauge this person's intentions because I've had so many bad situations in the past.
How has that impacted you personally? Like, do you now think twice before going into a studio?
There was a long time, COVID was like a blessing for me because I bought like a home setup, and then I was like, okay, cool, I can stay reclusive. I don't have to go into studios and all that kind of stuff. But then I also realized that like it's stressful doing everything yourself. So sometimes relinquishing that control and giving somebody else the freedom to be like, hey, I'll record you, this is what I feel like you should sound like, and so you don't have to think about it all the time. It takes that pressure off your shoulders. So I have like been going into studios, but like it's more like if my friend can engineer, then I'd prefer that more so than other ones. But shout out APS Studio because there's an engineer called Spark who's like family to me, so he completely changed my perspective on what a engineer should be or what it's supposed to be. But yeah, I think there's like loads of different little scenarios that happen that like force these little anxieties and insecurities in your brain, and then certain situations that should just feel normal as an artist to go into, they just don't feel normal anymore.
How about you, Lleo? Are you wary when it comes to studio sessions? Are you more chill with it?
I actually think I've been really lucky. I genuinely think, right, being gay doesn't have a lot of positives, but I think in music, I genuinely think being gay has helped me out so much because I don't deal with creepy guys. I don't really get into like dodgy situations. The one that springs to mind was, I always find it really weird. Like I would go to studio sessions around the country, even from the age of like 16. I would just be like, oh, I'm going to go to Manchester today, or I'm going to go to this place I've never been to. And people would just be like, oh yeah, have fun. And no one would say, where are you going? Who are you with? What's the address? Like, it's really weird to go into someone's house. And as you said, like bedroom studios, there was one point where I was like, okay, this is actually not safe. Like, I had just moved to London, and there was this guy that I don't even know how I've met him. I think I met him on Instagram, and I ended up in his flat in this like pretty dodgy part of London that I'd never been to before. And I was in his bedroom, like sitting on the bed, and we were making a tune. And luckily, like he wasn't a creep, like it was fine. But I walked in and I was like, I shouldn't be in here. Like, this isn't safe, you know? And it was a real wake up call. I was like, anything could have happened to me.
That's not something I feel that as consumers of music that just listen to music, putting in my earphones, I would never think, oh, how was this recorded? Could it have been a bedroom studio? It's just not a thought that crosses my mind.
Well, I think because so much of what we see, and I think this is a social media thing where we want people to feel like we're doing better than we are, and we want to impress other people. So many things. Like, I know people who record in bedroom studios, but they'll like hire out a studio for the afternoon. They'll like take some photos and some videos, and
But they're not actually making music.
Yeah, and I'm like, you don't have to do that. Like, I think it's cool to make stuff in your room. I make stuff in my room that's gone on to be like, you know, like have really good.
That's gone to Radio 1. That's got accumulated over 6 million views on TikTok. That Clara Amfo support. That Elton John has heard. That Jack Saunders has heard.
Elton John, you know.
But the point is, like, I feel like, yeah, people aren't honest about how a lot of stuff is made, and being a musician is messed up. And what I've realised is, I know artists at all different stages of their careers, people who are like right up here and people who are just getting started, and it's always messed up, but there are just the way it's messed up changes, and I think it's so interesting.
The official list that the Musicians Union, some of the things that they've identified that affects musicians in different ways include irregular working hours, touring, feeling devalued, stage fright, and sexual harassment. Do you relate to any of those?
I feel like most of them apply to me other than touring, and like I'm not a big touring artist. I've been on one tour in my life, so I don't think touring affects me, so to speak. But like everything else, there is like a sense of that in there. But I don't even think sometimes the devaluing comes from anybody else but myself.
Okay.
Because of the imposter syndrome that I go through. So then it's that battle of like I can't believe in myself, so I can't push myself forward. But also irregular working hours. When Sabrina Carpenter says I'm working late because I'm a singer, she wasn't lying.
I'm working late because I'm a presenter.
Literally, my bedtime on a normal day is like 9:30, and like sometimes you'll have a stage time for 9:30, and it's not because I'm like some old granny that likes to go to bed early. It's just like
you messaged me at like 6 a.m. I'm like, what is she doing up?
Right, so like I have a condition where it's called fibromyalgia. So if I don't sleep, like, and my body's tired, I'm just in pain. So I have to get a good night's sleep. So like, while all my friends are out partying and living life, I'm in my bed.
See, Maddie, I'm the opposite. The earliest I will sleep is like 2-3 a.m.
Yeah, you're crazy, respectfully. But no, it's that sometimes I'm just like, I'll be sitting in my bed like, do I really want to go out and sing? And I love to sing, but then it's like, once I've gone out to sing, it's like I have social anxiety because there's loads of people I don't know. And then it's like, on top of that, I have the anxiety before I even step on stage, because I'm just like, what about if you don't like me? Which I shouldn't care about. But it's like, this industry has made you believe that you have to be somebody worthy of people's love and good reception before you can make it. So like, if I'm going to do a gig in London at a venue I've never done before, in front of people I've never done a show in front of before, there's an expectation of me to be great from the promoter, but these people have no expectation of me. So then I put this pressure on myself to be 10 times better than I've ever been. And then sometimes the nerves get too much, and it's like, I fumbled that show. And it's like, sometimes being from outside of London, you feel like London is some of your big breaks. So then it's just like, damn. So
I was going to say as well, when it comes to being devalued, obviously I know, Lleo, you currently live in London, but you're from Cheltenham. Maddie, you're from Brum. I'm from Brum as well.
I love how you keep saying that.
But I've got a point. My point was, do you feel that being from the regions makes you devalued by the industry?
I think being from outside of London right now is the biggest blessing. It wasn't before.
But biggest blessing personally, or from the industry perspective?
On a general grand scheme of things.
Okay.
I like being from Brum because London is a bit chaotic for me. Like, again, being an anxious person, like, there's so much hustle and bustle all the time. Like, I lived here for 6 months. Like, my brain was so like overwhelmed all the time and overstimulated. But I think as an artist in Brum, I feel like you get a bit more freedom. I don't feel like I feel as much pressure, but maybe that's because there's a lack of structure.
But Lleo, being from Cheltenham and now being in London, do you feel like people take you more seriously?
I think, I don't know. I hate this whole thing that it's like, you need to live in London to make it in music. I think in a lot of respects, it makes it a lot easier. Like, if there's I don't know, if I get invited to a thing or a studio session, someone's like, are you free? And I am. I'm like, yeah, cool. I'll see you in an hour. Like, I do think the quick opportunities, it makes it easier to get. Like, I lived in Leeds for 4 years and it was a nightmare. Like, because I couldn't afford the train. So I'd be getting the bus down, which took like 5 hours. So,
and do you reflecting on your time in Cheltenham, do you feel like you had a clearer headspace in comparison to now?
I think it's a hard one to say because I was so young. Like, I left when I was 18 and I think, like, I mean, when I was growing up, like, my childhood was really weird. Like, I grew up in and out of hospital. Like, I didn't have a normal life. So my head was messed up anyway. Turns out I also have bipolar, but I didn't know that at the time. So I don't know. I don't think I've ever had a clear head. I think my head is like, do, and then it's just nothing.
And recently as well, I saw an article you featured in on the BBC, big BBC, you know, and you describe your genre as bipolar pop.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something that, or is it something that's already, is bipolar pop already something that's in the industry, or what was the reaction to that?
Bipolar pop did not exist before me and it will not exist after me.
Wow.
She's owning that genre.
I mean it.
Powerful.
I mean it.
What is bipolar pop?
Bipolar pop is the highest highs and the lowest lows condensed into bangers.
That makes sense.
And give us a little teaser of that banger.
Which one?
My mind,
my mind makes noise, can't shut it off. The symphony that never stops. Yeah.
Hey. That wasn't even on beat.
It's not even a genre of music.
But that's what I love about your music, Lleo. Like, with your music, you talk about the most depressing things with the most in the background, most like banging beat in the background. Do you know what I mean? But you can still get me my feels. And Maddie, you as well. Like, in terms of your music, I love R&B, and it just like the smoothness of it.
Yeah.
I can relate to the lyrics, even if I don't literally relate to what you're saying. I can relate in my own way. And both of you have got incredible credits. Like, you've been supported by BBC Radio 1 Extra, backed by DJ Ace, and Lleo, like I said, Elton John, or like all these Radio 1 credits. But you both, what I find interesting is you both do work outside of music as well. Does that affect what's going on in your mind? And if you could tell me a bit about what you do. Funny story of how you and me met.
Yeah.
Maddie used to be my barista. She used to make me coffees, banging coffees.
I love that.
And then she just, I don't know how, but we just started talking about music. And then I found out that you make music. And I had a segment on BBC Radio West Midlands. And I was like, oh, do you want to chat about music? And then you opened up about your mental health. But one thing you were talking about is the taboos of working a job outside of music and making music. Yeah. How did you battle all of that?
I think it links into what Lleo said earlier. I think there's this, like, people don't want to show the parts of life that aren't flashy and don't involve your chains and your glam team and all that kind of stuff. But, like, most of us, we're independent artists who don't have label funding or just even funding from organisations. So, like, we have to fund ourselves. Unless you're, I don't know, like, a trust fund baby who has loads of money. If you're a council estate girl like me, you have to go and get a job and make money. So my job for a time was Starbucks, but I've also worked in like CEX, and then I was a glass collector. More so now, I just do a lot of like freelance stuff because of my brain having that kind of job that was fast paced. Like, you weren't in on the day, but I literally had a breakdown at Starbucks.
I remember you telling me, and you went to the storeroom.
Yeah, it was so dramatic. Like, there was like, I felt like 500 drinks. There's probably about 20, but you know how it gets in the morning. Everyone, because I had a drive-through, but then it's inside as well. So
and then like, the earpiece going on.
Everyone wants their latte.
Yeah, it's doing.
Caramel latte, soya milk, extra hot, extra drizzle.
Yeah, I could remember his order. He wouldn't even have had to say it. But like, I hate coffee, so I don't understand why people are so like rigid and like, I need my coffee order to be perfect. So it was just a day where I was just having a really, really terrible morning, and then somebody just like, they didn't like their coffee and they just dashed their coffee back to me. Like, they didn't throw it at me, they just like like pushed it back over on the ledge where we like put the drinks. And I was just like, I feel so like terrible at this job. Like, why am I here?
And is that a moment where you were like, I wish I could do music more, or like in terms of your escape? Or just the reason I'm asking is because I remember you telling me that sometimes you were told to keep your side job hush, or you should feel embarrassed about doing that. Yeah,
so it was like, it was maybe just like, don't talk about like working at Starbucks, or like even when people like say, do you want to come shoot? I'm like, no, I've got a shift. They're like, oh, you work? We didn't even know. Like, we thought you were like this. Because I think some people see credits and accomplishments and they try and match your life to that. And it's not that. Like, I've done like a project with Dr. Martins and Mahalia. She's an amazing person. She's an amazing human, but she also has a busy life. I don't talk to this woman all the time, and I'm not on the same level musically or like industry wise as her. Like, I'm still living in my council estate home, and like, I'm still striving and working jobs and making money for myself. I don't know where I was going with the answer to that question, but I think it just made me realize that I don't want to be in that type of work because it's too stressful for my brain to feel like I'm consistently failing people. Whereas like in music, it's like the only person that I'm really going to let down is myself, because it just depends on who gravitates towards what you're putting out. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. And Lleo, do you relate to any of that? And also, do you feel like doing side jobs is something that you have to hide, or is it something you've thought about?
I've never actually spoken about it until right now. So I've never told people that I work other jobs or anything, but I do. And almost all of my mates do. And even the ones that you really wouldn't expect to, like, they also do. I think everyone has to until suddenly you don't. And then hopefully you're all good. I do think there's an element. I think it's something that I definitely struggle with in terms of like my self-esteem and the way I feel about myself, because like you said earlier, where like when you're young, you're thinking, oh, by the time I'm 21, I'm going to be doing this, and it's like, oh, you're 21 and no, you're not doing this. You're like, working in Starbucks, or like I was like working in shoe shops. And I do think that's something that I struggle with. I think it's just more mentally for me, being like, oh, I'm still doing it. And I think you do feel like you're the only one, but actually you're not. Everyone else is doing it.
It's one of those things as well, like what you said about Insta. Like for me as a presenter and you as artists, our Instas are literally our CVs. And I get jobs based off of my Insta. Like the aesthetic of it, what is he doing musically? Because I love to present about music and stuff. And it almost sometimes feels like a double life, because the stuff that's going on in your head is not the stuff that we're posting about. Do you feel the same musically?
I definitely used to post stuff that I thought, oh, people are going to think this is really cool. And it wasn't, and they didn't. But
is it like a cringe?
But then in 2019, I had a breakdown. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm just going to post whatever feels real. And I basically vowed to myself that I wasn't going to post lies anymore that people thought were cool. I was just going to put out there what actually was real. And I feel like people relate to it so much more. And I feel like people like that I'm not lying or trying to fake something. I'm just being real. It doesn't mean I need to talk about everything in my life. And there are some things that are for me, and there are some things that I'm happy to put out into the world, but I'm not going to fabricate stuff just to make people think I'm doing better than I am.
And that's the thing, like for me as a listener, I relate to stories more. And an artist who you both know that I absolutely adore is Ray. And it's just like her music, she'll be talking about heartbreak, this, that. I can't necessarily relate to what you're saying, but I relate in my own ways. Like when she chats about anxiety, or her song Ice Cream Man, she opens up about how she was taken advantage of by a music producer. And I just love hearing the vulnerability that comes from her. And as a listener, that just makes me connect with her more. But then at the same time, like you said earlier, making that music is therapy for you, but then you put it out there, people feel something from it, but then is it exhausting for you whilst making that music? And does that ever make you question whether you want to be putting stuff like this out there?
I don't think the word is exhausting, because I think that would give the impression that making music is a very tiring thing and it's something I don't enjoy. It's more just like we make the music to heal. I don't make music because I'm like, this is going to be a banger. Like I say to my friends all the time, if I'm just a girl in 60 years that like ends up with like one little vinyl, like a record shop that somebody like samples and it becomes something bigger than itself, then amazing. But like if no one ever knows my name, like I won't, it won't matter to me, because I just love the actual action of making the music.
And what you said just now about you make music to heal, as well as personal stuff, do you feel like you make music to heal from music?
Do I make music to heal from music? I think in terms of like what music has done to me as a person, or just having to navigate the industry that music is, I think there's definitely some songs that I've written that sound like I'm healing from writing music. But I think I make the music for myself because I need to heal in that moment. I put it out because I'm an artist, and it's like I have to put out music. So you work with your team to be like, this is the song that you want to put out, but it's not because it's like, oh, mental health is the topic of the month, so we're going to push the song out. If you actually listen to my music, a lot of it is about my depression, my anxiety, heartbreak, really sad stuff. But I think it gets to a point like when you are healed or you're going through that journey, sometimes revisiting that pain for performance sake, or to talk about it on a like radio interview, sometimes it's like re-triggering those things, and it's like that can be the draining and exhausting bit, because it's like I don't want to live in this space anymore, but this is the banger that everybody loves, so guess who has to perform it at our show and cry afterwards? Me. And it's like that. It's like I'm so grateful to be able to do it, but it's also like there has to be an honesty with like, yo, it's actually really traumatizing sometimes to just have to sing such painful things all the time. So like even Ray, like you wouldn't want to sing a song like Ice Cream Man at every show that you do because of how like deep and profound the lyrics are.
She even wore like, I think she was just in her underwear performing that because of how she wanted to convey how vulnerable she was in that situation.
100%. And I saw something that Beyonce said, and she was like, I don't involve all of my personal life because I don't want my music to become, or my life to become performance art. And it's like, the more that we put ourselves in our music, our human is not ours anymore. Like, we just belong to everybody else. So I think, like Lleo said, you kind of have to have those parts of yourself that you keep to you, because then you don't get lost in the source, because then you just become this artist. You're not, hey, I'm not just Madison anymore. Like, I'm consistently Madi Saskia. And that, I think, is where the burnout comes. And like the struggling to like do the content creation comes, because like Lleo says, we're fabricating this version of ourselves that doesn't exist. And it's like, we're not even being paid to do that job. Do you know what I mean? So it's really tiring to have two versions of yourself all the time. So when you get to blend the honesty with your art, I think it's such a relief.
And Madi, feel free to share as much or as little as you want about this. And we've spoken about this off camera.
Yeah.
And also trigger warning to anyone watching. But your music, you put out a post, I think a year ago, about some of the names you should be called in school and the bullying that you experienced. And also how you had some experiences where you were put in situations that you weren't in control of. Can you tell us whatever you feel comfortable about that, and how music has helped you through it or not helped you through it?
Yeah, so I'm 25 now. So when I was 16, I was taken advantage of and assaulted, which I think really affected me as a person. It was a very traumatizing experience, because my family was not at home. They had all gone on holiday and I was in the house by myself. And I'm not going to talk about like the ins and outs, because that's quite a traumatic story, but it was always something that I held close to me, and it was always something that affected me, but it was something I never said to anyone. And I was in this relationship, and this guy, he wasn't very like comforting when it came to like me having depression, because also my dad passed away, so I've been dealing with really severe depression for a really long time. So there was no comfort really in that space. And then like I ended up like locking things off, and then there was a lot of, I guess like there was just a lot of words that he would say about me to people to kind of almost like blackball me, or like just ruin like my reputation. And like they would be along the lines of like that sexual connotation, and it's like having those views on me and not even really knowing my whole story, those kind of words, like they're really, really hurtful to me. So I wrote a song that was called For the Streets, because a lot of what he was saying was, oh, she's for the streets, which I don't know if I can describe what that means on here, because it's obviously quite explicit.
We know,
but you know, which I'm not. I don't need to shout it from the rooftops.
Whether you are, whether you aren't, you do what you got to do.
100%. So I don't need to explain that to anyone. But it was like, because it was like your words are affecting my art, I'm going to make my art more impactful than what you're doing. So
do you feel that process of putting into music helped you?
It did. I cried more than I've ever cried in my life, though, because it was like, I'm not a person like, because it felt like I was writing a diss track. I'm not a person that wants to hold that energy in myself, but I also don't like when people try and tell my story for me, or push a narrative about me that is untrue and fits their story more than it fits mine.
Honestly, Madi, when I saw that on Insta, like it was what I said about relatability with music. Like felt so much for you, but at the same time, like I was so proud of you for sharing that, and I appreciate you sharing that on here too. Thank you.
No, it's okay. And I think I was saying to you, it's down now, because what happened was I posted it to have
so you took it off.
Yeah, it's come down now, because what happened is I'm not this big like artist who has like the strongest and thickest skin in the world. Basically, there was just a lot of horrible things, like, if this situation is so bad, then just like yourself, or things like that. And I think people don't realize that like independent artists get that level of bullying as well. And I don't have a team around me to be like, hey girl, you're gonna be fine. So I literally was like, I went away for like 2 weeks. I was crying my eyes out, because like the things that strangers were saying about me after I poured so much of myself into a song, and it was really hard for me because my family didn't even know what had happened to me. So then there was opening doors for more conversation. It was like all of that, and then you guys taking something that was so personal to me and making it something that, I don't know, you just kind of wiped wiped your feet on what I made, and that was it wasn't a nice experience.
What you've spoken about as well throughout this is your journey as independent artists. What is it like being an independent artist? What does it mean that people watching might not know?
It's wild.
It's a wild ride.
What a wild ride.
Do you like the reference?
Myself,
Yeah.
what a wild ride. It's mental. Honestly, like, it is the highest highs and the lowest lows, and it is so turbulent. And I've had like some of the most incredible moments of my whole life, and also some of the worst moments of my whole life, like down to being a musician and being an artist and a songwriter and a producer. And it's a lot, but I can't do anything else. Like, I don't have a plan B. I don't want to do anything else. I am like, this is it. And hopefully I can just keep growing bigger and better.
Similar to what I asked Madi earlier, have you ever questioned whether you still want to be in music because of how exhausting it is?
Yeah, all the time. I think I've only had 2 points where I'm like, I'm done. And it was when I had a breakdown in 2019. I had to take 6 months, and I was just like, I'm done. I don't know what I'm going to do in my life, but it's not this, because this is too messed up. Like, it's too much. And I don't deserve to feel this bad because of the thing that I'm making the choice to do. Luckily I'm not at that stage anymore, thank God. But yeah, it's a lot. And like my EP came out last week, and it's like, the EP is all the stuff I've never been able to say out loud because it's too uncomfortable and it's too painful and it's just too like awkward and weird.
Congrats on the EP, by the way.
I was gonna say, I'm very proud of you.
Thanks. And but yeah, when it came out, everyone was going, "Oh my God, how you feeling? How you feeling?" I felt so sad. I was crying my eyes out all morning because I was like, it's heavy. It's really deep and it's heavy and it's a lot.
And you did a show recently as well, and
Yeah.
you were saying, when we were chatting off camera, you were saying how you didn't feel like you did your best, but everyone was saying that you did, but you just wanted that moment to be like, guys, I don't like it.
Yeah. It's a really weird feeling. It's the first time I've ever had that feeling where I've come off and I've been like, I feel really weird and sad and just horrible and like angry, because it just wasn't what I wanted it to be. And I do think, like, on reflection, I mean, like, at the weekend I was feeling so low. Like this week I'm feeling bad, like bad. And I do think, on reflection, I'm probably going through a down period, because I think like how the show made me feel and my reaction, it doesn't match up to like one show not going how I wanted it to go. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So this is what I mean about like what you said about when it comes to 9 to 5s. More often than not, you can leave your 9 to 5 at your 9 to 5.
yeah.
But after you've done like maybe an hour, 2 hour show,
Mm-hmm.
that feeling's gonna linger with you for however long
Yeah.
it takes.
And you've got to just like shake it off and get on with it. But it's a weird one.
Just based on that note, just to wrap up, what is your message to the music industry? Like, imagine you're chatting to the people who make the decisions, who can make the changes to make your mental health that little bit better as artists. What is your message to them?
You want to go first?
I feel like I can give a concise answer. I feel like yours is emotionally charged after what you just said, which is absolutely fine and valid. I think my thing would be like, if you have, sorry, I don't know why I'm touching it. Just open your eyes and make people feel heard, because I think there is a surface level of artists that are constantly being pushed at us, and there is like an underground or below the surface level. That doesn't mean we're less than, it's just like we're not seen. We're struggling a lot, and there's not structures in place for us to thrive in the way that we probably would want to, and we need to keep the industry thriving. So just like make us feel seen and hear us out, because like we are part of your foundation too, and like the established artists are established for a reason. You've put all your eggs into their basket. Maybe help the ones that are coming up and
Because you are going to be the next generation of artists.
100%, because I know a lot of my established friends go to therapy. I can't afford it. I've been on a waiting list for therapy for 2 years. So yeah, it's hard, very, very hard.
Lleo?
Musicians need support. They need money. They need advice, and they need help that they're not getting right now. And it shouldn't be as much of a struggle as it is to just make cool stuff that makes people feel something. And I think, yeah, if you want an amazing next generation of musicians to come through, then you need to support them.
Who do you think needs to support them? Is it labels? Is it the government?
Everyone. I feel like when we try to point fingers, that's where it gets messy and people are like, it's not my fault. There's a whole system and network of people that have to work together to make money from each other. Money is amazing, but money comes and goes. It's all the other things outside of the money, because I think the problem is they think money fixes everything, and it doesn't, because there's deep-rooted issues with using money as the foundation for everything. Obviously, money's going to make the world go around a lot smoother, but it's like, once my bills are paid and I'm still crying, what do we do then? Because there is some deep-rooted issues and traumas from musicians that make the art that you love. Like, they've had to go through something to create that thing. So it's like, let's just cater to the thing that happened before the art was made, because they're having to still live with that.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Final question. Name me a track that is going to lift your mood.
Lift my mood?
Lift your mood or put you in the gutter, but helps you.
In the gutter. I can't say those songs on this podcast. I think for me, actually, I was listening to it this morning. It's a song called Awkward by Rumdafor, who is from Dudley, which is
Midlands.
It's just a song about being awkward, which I am. So when I listen to it, it helps me in my social anxiety when I walk through like the train station and stuff. But yeah.
Nice. Lleo?
Yeah.
I would say No Problem by Chance the Rapper.
Mm-hmm.
It just gets me going. Put it on and I'm ready. I'm
Just
ready
gets
for the
people
day.
going. Yes.
For me, it's got to be, there's an artist, there's a rapper called Bowen, and there's a track called MIA that says, I can't sleep, not these days. I can't sleep, not these days. We pray for the ones who are missing.
Jameel tried to get the vocals in again. Did you see that? You know how he claimed no notes at the beginning?
I knew this would happen. I can't sleep, not these days. Man down, MIA. We pray for the ones who are missing. And that just reminds me of my dad, who I lost a couple of years ago. And also a friend of mine, Keenan, he's got a song called Exhale. And the lyrics go, I exhale, I inhale. And it's just one of those where it just reminds you to breathe.
Yeah, you need that, because I think we forget that. Like, we forget, because even when we're like having panic attacks and hyperventilating, we forget that the most powerful thing that we have control of is our breath. So once we control that, brilliant, amazing.
Madi and Lleo, thank you both so much. Where can people find you?
On my Instagram at Madi Saskia Music. I think everything is the same actually. MADISASKIA and then music. On everything. I had to change it because it was loads of different handles for everything. But also if you're in Birmingham, you might just see me around.
And Lleo?
You can find me everywhere online at Lleo World, LLEO World. Welcome to my world, baby.
And you can also find me on all socials at JAM_Shariff, SHARIFFF. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you've learned something about musicians and mental health, and it's something that I feel we all need to talk about a bit more to support these incredible artists who give us the music that we all listen to. Big love.
Woo, woo, woo. Hey, we did it. That was so chaotic and I loved it.